rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It is American Perspective, and I am your host, Rick. It's been a roller coaster of a Monday for me. I saw some items in the plethora of news articles, and I was like, yay! And then I saw something else, and I went, ugh. And then I saw something else, and I went, yay! And then I saw something else and went, ugh. I'm going to bring all of those to you tonight. We're going to see what happens here in terms of the roller coaster. We won't call it a roller coaster of emotions, but definitely a roller coaster of things that are going on here. Anyway, all right. I would like to ask, has anybody heard from Bonnie or Fat Paws in terms of what's going on with them? I was thinking about them all weekend, praying, of course, for Fat Paws' full recovery. And I just wanted to know if there's any Whiskey Warrior P1s out there who know of anything for him. Because, like I said, I've sent an email and last week, and I haven't heard anything back. Not that I'm necessarily expecting anything from her, but anyway. All right. So let's see. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off. First things first, of course, is tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. It is being done by the NJY Camps Girls Band. The NJY Camps Girls Band. So, if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat. If you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with the NJY Camps Girls Band as they perform their version of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah.
All right, and of course, I thank them for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. There we go. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing the pledge in your style, then take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. Send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will get you into the program, or get you into the rotation. We are at 21 or 20. I need 21. I'm looking for 21. I need 21. So if you are of mind to send that in, that would be great. And if you do it on your phone, you can share it. Use the share option to share it to me and send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. Well, I hope everybody, if you're planning on having turkey and it's frozen, you've got it out now. Oh, there's Bonnie. So apparently Fat Paws is still not awake. No other change. And, we are definitely thinking of you right now, Bonnie and Fat Paws, and praying for his recovery. And we're all doing that, just so everybody knows. All right. Okay, so let's go on to tonight's headline sponsor. I'm wearing one of their fabulous shirts. This one here is the Declaration of Independence shirt put on to you, or provided to you as or from the website. Boy, I'm just mincemeating this thing all to hell. from the website, theflagshirt.com. Oh boy, here we go. You guys get to see multiples of me until I can get that fixed. There we go. So head on over to theflagshirt.com and get yourself some patriotic gear, whether it's in the colors of the red, white, and blue or stylized like mine, where it highlights spectacular American stuff like, you know, the Liberty Bell, Mount Rushmore, the Lincoln Memorial, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, so on and so forth. Head on over to theflagshirt.com. Check out all of their men's, women's, kids, made in the USA, and all of their accessories in the fantastic red, white, and blue and Americanized styles. And you can you can definitely check out all of their stuff. I'm sorry, this just one of the Whiskey Warrior P1s was a little thrown off when I switched screens. Anyway, head on over to theflagshirt.com and check out all of their styles. And if you order $75 or more of their product, you will receive free shipping. But I know not everybody can order $75 or more, and so because of that, I am going to help you out. All you need to do is go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. And you will be presented with a coupon code, and all you have to do is take that coupon code, copy and paste it into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com, and you will get $5 off your order. Once again, go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, be presented with that coupon code, copy and paste the coupon code into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com, and theflagshirt.com. My closed captioning screws that up every single time. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right. Alrighty. Well, you folks in Texas, yes, you're going to have a fantastic opportunity to get one of the greatest infomercial salespeople ever as one of your congresspersons. Oh, who remembers this guy?
Hi, it's Vince with Sham Wow. You'll be saying wow every time you use this towel. It's like a chamois, it's like a towel, it's like a sponge. A regular towel doesn't work wet. This works wet or dry. This is for the house, the car, the boat, the RV. Sham Wow.
That's right. Vince. Oh, he has filed paperwork for becoming a congressperson. He is going to be a congressperson for the Temple, Killeen, so that means all of Fort Hood, the Temple, Killeen, and northern Austin area. That's right. No, I'm not kidding. I'm dead serious. He filed to run for Congress as a Republican candidate. His name is Vince Shlomi, S-H-L-O-M-I, Vince Shlomi. He is one of several that are looking to unseat 84-year incumbent John Carter in the suburban Austin district. So, yeah, we'll be saying, wow, if he makes it into Congress. So, I can't tell if this is if his full name is this, but he apparently filed on Friday and submitted under the name Offer Vince Shamwow Shlomi. Offer Vince Shamwow Shlomi. So, anyway, he told Fox News Digital in an interview this Sunday that his decision to run for office was ultimately motivated by a desire to, quote, destroy wokeism and as a tribute to the late Charlie Kirk, whom he called the original woke buster. He also added that the political infighting in the country eventually inspired him to seek office and make America happy. And the ShamWow guy, I wonder if he's going to hand out ShamWows at his at his fundraising campaigns and stuff. Yeah, anyway. He's a 61-year-old. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, keep in mind, the ShamWow was out a long time ago. But the 61-year-old Israeli-American entrepreneur is aiming again to unseat Congressman John Carter of Texas. So I'm going to have to check. I'm going to have to check with my business partner, Oogie, and see if he actually is in that, because I'm sure he is. Oh, I gotta reach out to Oogie on that. But anyway, I know. The 61 is young. Yeah, barely. Anyway. So yeah, like I said, it includes northern Austin suburbs, Temple, and Fort Hood. As Fort Hood is surrounded by Killeen. Well, not surrounded, but the town that's right outside the base is Killeen, Texas. So it's in there. So anyway, there are five candidates in total, with Shlomi one of them, looking to compete for the Texas 31st Congressional District. So, yeah, there you go. Anyway, he is, I didn't know this, but he's president and CEO of the TV marketing company Square One Entertainment. And he skyrocketed to pop culture fame in the 2000s with his high-energy pitch videos that helped make the super absorbent ShamWow towel a household name. It was also, his rise to fame was also accompanied by several high-profile controversies, including allegations of harassment and physical altercations, before he eventually stepped out of the spotlight and reportedly worked to clean up his image. So, yeah, we'll see. He also apparently faced legal battles tied to a 1999 underground comedy film called The Underground Comedy Movie. Yeah, also, too, he also did the Slap Chop product. So, anyway, back in 2009, he was arrested in Miami Beach after an alleged violent altercation with a sex worker, which was an incident that became tabloid fodder after police photos of his face injuries surfaced. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens here, but maybe he'll give out ShamWows and slap chops at his parties or whatever. Anyway. Yeah, people. Oh, man, I'm telling you, you cannot find good quality candidates anywhere. All right. So you may recall last week I made the comment, or I made the mention of the fact that Eric Swalwell has announced that he wants to run for governor of California. Well, he may run into a bit of a speed bump with that. And by speed bump, I mean obstacle. Like possibly, what do they call them? Spike strips to let the air out of his tires. See, he's being investigated for mortgage fraud. And that mortgage fraud is basically that he claimed that his home over on the East Coast, or where he purchased, was his primary residence, which of course, would particularly violate him being a congressman too, because congressmen have to have their primary residence from the state, or in the state that they are reportedly representing. However, here's the problem with him is that if it can be proven and shown that he actually lived, like literally lived on the East Coast for his primary residence, the California Constitution, would forbid him from being governor, because the California Constitution and the California Elections Code leave zero ambiguity on this particular point. His true and primary permanent home must be in the state of California. So his own legally binding mortgage documents state, signed under penalty of perjury, that his home in Washington, D.C. is his principal residence. And by the way, too, they also have a rule as well where he has to have lived in California for the 5 years prior to declaring to be the governor, to run for governor. So he may not actually be able to get there. And by the way, they also, just in case somebody is like saying, oh, well, they can get around that, you know, I mean, all he has to do is have like a mailbox address. Nope. The constitutional requirements in election law in California state clearly that the resident term does not simply mean where one receives mail or even owns property. It means domicile, one's true, fixed, permanent home. California Elections Code, Section 349, makes this point abundantly clear. Quote, a domicile is the place where a person's habitation is fixed and where they have intention of remaining. And they also say at a given time, a person may have only one domicile. Yeah. So, he may be in trouble. The law further emphasizes that though a person may have multiple residences, which Swalwell doesn't, by the way, they may have only one designated domicile. The domicile is proven by actual habitation plus intent to remain permanently. So that eliminates any candidate whose legal declarations show that their true primary home is not in California. And according to his 2022 mortgage filing, a sworn declaration of D.C. as his primary residence, that was in the document where he basically stated under Clause 8, he literally stated that the intended occupancy of his house in Washington, D.C. is the principal borrower's primary residence. Oh, and his, not only did he, but also his wife signed under that as well. They're not symbolic signatures. They're real. So, yeah, he may not be able to do it, because also don't forget the 5-year requirement is also fatal. California Constitution requires 5 years of California residency immediately before the election. Eric Swalwell would have had to abandon his D.C. domicile, establish a new California domicile, live in that California domicile as his primary home for 5 uninterrupted years. Why? Why do these people, why do they seem to think that they can just get away with this crap? I mean, this is the law. This is the way the law actually works. And he clearly signed the piece of paper that said that, yeah, he's not living in California, which I think is really weird that he can't, you know, he's representing California, but he can't live in California. I mean, come on. Anyway. Whatever. They're Democrats. They'll figure out a way to get around it, because some Democrat judge will say, oh, he didn't mean that. Yeah, speaking of that, the Department of Justice revealed today what is being called damning evidence against Letitia James in a new court filing. So the evidence was submitted to the court by the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Lindsay Halligan, which included, I should say, a number of damning exhibits seemingly demonstrative of James's guilt. Now, according to attorney Mike Davis of MRD Law, one exhibit contained James's affidavit for occupancy affidavit of occupancy for the Norfolk, Virginia property. In the affidavit, James had signed a rider that basically said that she was going to use the home as a secondary residence and not as an investment property. That rider allowed her to receive a lower interest rate. Well, there's only one problem. She actually has never lived at that property. And in fact, she rented it out to her niece, along with several other potentially criminals, people who are participating in criminal behavior, which apparently, according to Jasmine Crockett, it doesn't actually mean that they're a criminal. Yeah, anyway. Another exhibit that was entered contained James's homeowner's insurance application, in which the New York Attorney General had alleged that the Norfolk home remained unoccupied 5 months out of the year. Well, this also was false because James's niece was found to be living at the Norfolk home year-round. Now, a third exhibit contained another insurance application in which James falsely asserted that the Norfolk home was occupied by a single childless adult. It was actually, in fact, occupied by 4 different people, including the wild niece, they call her the wild niece, and 3 children. So, by the way, the documents filed Thursday also included blurbs laying out Halligan's case against James. Now, if you look at stuff like this, I mean, this is actual, verified, signed, legal documents submitted as evidence. Unlike what we have seen in the past against Donald Trump. So, anyway, James knew that these claims were false, according to Mike Davis. He says when she made them, in the tweet above, which I'm not going to show you, but this is in a tweet thread. In the tweet above, James claimed to have moved into the property in October of 2020, except that in September of 2020, James's niece, who James was collecting rent from, registered utilities in the niece's name. So, anyway. And by the way, Davis also noted that prosecutions are routinely brought in the Eastern District of Virginia for fraud over similar amounts of cash. So it's not as though, by the way, it's not as though, this is something novel. Oh, kind of like the case in New York where Alvin Bragg did against, and the Aragon case with Letitia James, that one. Yeah, totally novel. Brand new, never been tried before. No, this is something that happens on a regular basis. So she is actually being charged with stuff that is routinely filed and prosecuted. So this isn't something new. But anyway, unfortunately, so there's your high. Unfortunately, here's a low. That same federal judge has decided to dismiss both the James Comey case as well as the Letitia James indictments. Now, keep in mind, neither of these cases are being dismissed because there is no case, there's no evidence, there's no other, there was a procedural error necessarily about the cases themselves. No. The judge is dismissing those 2 cases because of the fact that, according to the judge, Lindsay Halligan was not properly appointed. So U.S. District Judge Cameron McGowan Curry said that all actions flowing from the appointment of Lindsay Halligan, whom the Trump administration named as interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, were, quote, unlawful exercises of executive power and are hereby set aside. Yes, that judge is presiding over both cases. Curry dismissed the indictments without prejudice. So for those of you that are not a legal eagle, when you dismiss a case without prejudice, it means that the case can be brought forward once again. If you get a case dismissed with prejudice, that means it cannot be brought forward ever again. So the judge, in dismissing this, basically said, hey, if you get a properly appointed prosecutor here, you can retry this one. Well, there's only one problem. The James Comey case is the statute of limitations is run out. So the chances of James Comey being retried in this particular manner is very slim. There would have to be, I would imagine, some extenuating circumstances proven to the court before they could even get the case going again. But in terms of the Letitia James case, that can absolutely get brought up once again. And now, all of that is assuming, of course, that the appeal of this decision gets upheld. So again, you got to remember in the process, the justice process, the judicial process, there still is the appeal process that could, I mean, you can appeal. He can appeal, the Department of Justice can appeal this decision, and they likely will. So we'll just have to see what happens. The Curry, the judge, their decision was focused on Title 28, United States Code, Section 546, which allows interim attorneys to serve for 120 days, further providing the district courts may appoint a U.S. attorney to fill vacancies at the end of that time frame if the Senate hasn't already appointed a replacement. So, yeah. During the hearing on November 13th, the Justice Department argued that the law didn't confine the Attorney General to an initial 120 days for appointing prosecutors. Rather, it said the law allowed for successive appointments of attorneys who would each have 120-day limits on their time in office. Now, Curry disagreed and said on November 24th that the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia had power to appoint a replacement for Eric Siebert, which was Halligan's predecessor. We'll just have to see where this happens, what happens here. But, yeah. So, the left, of course, is like, yay! And, you know, look, leftist lunatics, I'm not talking to my Whiskey Warrior P1s here, and any other conservative with a brain. But you leftist lunatic morons, you guys don't seem to get it. Even though this is a court win, it doesn't, you've won the battle. But you have definitely not won the war on this one. Or any of the ones where a federal judge says something. Because you got to remember, these federal judges, many of them are activists in black robes. And many of them are outstretching their constitutional boundaries. I'm not calling this judge outstretching their constitutional boundaries, although there is some question with regards to this. But, again, keep in mind, there's a lot that can happen between now and the end of the judicial process. So this one's going to come back, I promise you. But anyway, I'm fairly certain of that. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about my morning elixir that I get every single morning, and that is coffee. I drink my coffee out of a big 16-ounce mug that was a gift from my Whiskey Warrior children, or my whiskey children, I should say. And it's a big mug that says, "Father like no other." I drink it every day. I think of them. I drink out of it every day, and I think of them. And I want to tell you that if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit has dropped. There's a limited number of units available. In each unit, you're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All of these coffees are single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip. That's my personal favorite because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. You'll also be receiving a frother that is strong enough not only to stir up your coffee, but will also stir up your mother-in-law's opinions. Not that that's really all that hard. And you'll also be receiving a black 1775 tumbler. It's $170. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just $99. This is for the ones who have been watching 1775 coffee blow up on Rumble and wondering if it is actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. It is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. That is the numbers 1775coffee.com/ which is the question mark key, studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit before they're gone. One of my Whiskey Warrior P1 says, "Coffee so bold that the Sons of Liberty at the Boston Coffee Party would actually be rescuing the barrels instead of throwing them in the bay." Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit today. Nice little ad lib there by G. All right. Well, you know, this whole seditious six video is going to stay in the news cycle for a while, but a couple of these people have gone on interviews and they've been asked these questions. They've been asked questions like, "Hey, you're in this interview. You're sitting there talking about the fact that, you know, you want troops to disobey unlawful orders, obviously. So how many unlawful orders have been given?" Well, Jason, I think it's Jason Crow. Anyway, Crow, one of the six, said, "Well, you know, we're not doing that. We're not talking about that. We're just trying to remind these people of the law." And yes, I sound nasally, not because of an impression of him, but because he's a whiny little bastard. Anyway, so she, Alyssa Slotkin, who was one of the first ones, she was on ABC News, and yeah, we'll just have to listen to it from her own words.
And here's what White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said about your video.
They're suggesting, Nancy, that the president has given illegal orders, which he has not. Every single order that is given to this United States military by this commander-in-chief and through this chain of command, through the Secretary of War, is lawful.
Is that an accurate statement?
So I think the reason we put that statement out is because the sheer number of, frankly, young officers who are coming to us and saying, I just am not sure. What do I do? You know, I'm in Southcom and I'm involved in the National Guard. I'm just not sure. What do I do? And I think, look, you don't have to take my word for it. We've had report after report of legal officer, JAG officers coming forward and saying, look, I push back on this. I'm not sure that this is legal. There is such things as illegal orders. That's why it's in the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Going back to Nuremberg, right? And it's a totally benign statement. And if the president is concerned about it, then he should stay deeply within the law. But I think it's important to know it's not hypothetical, right? This president in the last administration, his last administration, asked his Secretary of Defense and his chairman of the Joint Chiefs to, quote, shoot at their legs at unarmed protesters in front of the White House that he wanted moved.
Actually, I know you're talking about Mark Esper's book. He didn't exactly say that. He said the president suggested that, but they were never ordered to do that.
And he got out of...
Did you catch that? Did you catch that? Slotkin was just fact-checked live. So she's already, I mean, seriously, I don't know anybody with any kind of an ounce of intelligence could come and look at this video and understand who these six are and not come to the same conclusion that they literally are trying to foment disloyalty and insubordination within the ranks. Literally. Anyway, we'll let her kind of finish here.
Of the Oval Office quickly so that he wasn't told to actually do it. And I give him a lot of credit for that. I give him a lot of credit.
So let's talk right now. Do you believe President Trump has issued any illegal orders?
To my knowledge, I am not aware of things that are illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastics that are going on with these Caribbean strikes.
Oh, yeah, there it is. There it is. See, again, not a single illegal order has been given to anybody's knowledge. And yet, they put out this video saying, oh, yeah, you don't have to follow illegal orders. Now, think about that for a second. The intent is there. They intend. That was the intent of the video. Because even she admits right here, she's like, we've been getting a lot of questions and stuff like that, rather than saying, hey, maybe you ought to go and consult a lawyer. Or even the JAG folks, maybe you ought to consult somebody with a little more experience than you. Rather than sitting there and answering the questions that way, they immediately go to this video and say, you do not have to follow unlawful orders. Knowing that there's already some questions in the ranks, that means that their intent was to foment disloyalty and insubordination within the ranks, which is a direct violation of Title 18, United States Code 2387. Folks, these people knew what they were doing. They knew it. They knew it. Come on. Yeah. It's just, come on. And 3 Chevy points it out here. What would have happened if I told my commanding officer that an order was illegal? Well, not that I would ever necessarily do that unless, of course, it was something like completely obvious. Say, for an example, fire upon unarmed civilians in a war zone. Regardless, they're not enemy combatants. They would be unarmed civilians, and that would literally be murder. That one would be extremely obvious. Okay? But, yeah, it would have to be something extremely obvious for me to even be able to remotely even think that I could do it. Because what a lot of people don't seem to understand with this is that if you defy an order, you are going to be arrested, regardless of whether the order is actually illegal or legal. The way that it works is you are guilty of defying an order of disobedience until you are proven innocent in the military. This is where the military is opposite of the civilian courts, folks. You are automatically assumed guilty until proven innocent. In a military tribunal court of law. You have to prove without a shadow of a doubt that that particular order that you decided to go against was actually an unlawful order. You you better have your damn ducks in a row if you're going to do this. I mean, even if you sit here and question things like, well, like she pointed out, the drug boats and stuff, even if you question that, you got to understand, folks, these orders are coming down from a far-reaching place through several people. And you honestly believe that the chain of command is sitting here saying, oh, yeah, troops, you can just automatically defy the order. No. The way this works, folks, the way this works is that you damn well better have all of your ducks in a row, know everything about the law, backwards, forwards, inside out, reverse, mirror image, black and white, color, all kinds of different places before you do this, because guaranteed, if you are found that the order was lawful, okay, and we got to use the term correctly. It's the lawful order. If you are found to have disobeyed a lawful order, you will be hit with punishment, forfeiture in pay, possible jail time, dishonorable discharge from the services, bad conduct discharge, a BCD, the big chicken dinner, man. If you go and get a BCD, man, it's almost like you will have a criminal record. It will follow you throughout the days of your career and life. There's nothing to come back from on this, which is part of the reason why sitting here and trying to remind people, hey, you don't have to follow lawful orders. She actually, in my opinion, just gave ammunition to the prosecution for this, because she literally is saying, hey, we already have a bunch of people who are questioning these orders. And so we just wanted to affirm the idea that the unlawful orders could potentially, that you don't have to obey them. So in other words, what you're telling us, Slotkin, Alyssa Slotkin, you're telling us that you see a crack in the armor and you are going to try and exploit it. That's literally what you just said. Oh, we already know that we've gotten so many reports, people are doing this. We're getting so many reports of this, and so we're just going to go ahead and put out this video saying that, yeah, if you think an order, that's literally the message that they are giving. If you think an order is unlawful, you don't have to follow it. What do you think fomenting disloyalty, attacking morale, all of the things that are listed in Title 18 USC 2387, all you have to do is attempt it. That's your intent, folks. Your intent was to attempt to foment disloyalty and insubordination. And they did it because of the fact that, and she just admitted this, they did it because they've been getting all of these reports. Well, the Secretary of War ain't messing around. He's not messing around with this. Because now Captain Mark Kelly is under the Department of War's review for misconduct. Breaking as of today in the Daily Signal, the Department of War released a statement on Monday announcing it will review serious allegations of misconduct against Senator Mark Kelly, who is a retired Navy captain. Now, what a lot of people don't seem to understand is when you retire from the military, you can get called back. You can get called back to service, and you can get court-martialed. So the DOW's investigation into Kelly's actions follows the Seditious Six video that was posted on X. The Department of War, they said, this is a statement, the Department of War has received serious allegations of misconduct against Captain Mark Kelly, USN retired. In accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice, Title 10, United States Code 688, and other applicable regulations, a thorough review of these allegations have been initiated to determine further actions, which may include recall to active duty for court-martial proceedings or other administrative measures. The statement added, this matter will be handled in compliance with military law, ensuring due process and impartiality. Further official comments will be limited to preserve the integrity of the proceedings. Yep. All they have to do is demonstrate a intent. And I know in a civilian court of law, that's a little difficult to do, especially when you're dealing with things like, I don't know, murder. You know, you have to have intent, premeditation, kind of thing. But the reality of it is, in this particular situation, the intent is obvious. It is 100% obvious. There is no other reason to put out a statement like that, especially now that we know that Alyssa Slotkin was basically saying, hey, we've been inundated with all these questionable, blah, blah, blah. Now we know what the intent is. The intent is sitting here and basically saying, hey, we've got a lot of people asking questions about this. Maybe we can utilize this and do something about this by putting out a video stating that you don't have to follow what you consider to be unlawful orders. I mean, I'm sorry, but a private, a sergeant, a corporal, a specialist, I'm going over the Army ranks, a low-level enlisted member is not going to have necessarily the legal chops to fully understand in the heat of the moment what is a lawful order and an unlawful order. Again, if it is something completely obvious, such as you must kill all these unarmed civilians, women and children, get rid of all of them in war, that's a pretty obvious unlawful order. Okay. But something like, you're going to fire on this boat, which contains drug cartel members. Yeah, that's a little more ambiguous and is not likely to be able to be determined, especially by a young person who is just in the service or whatever. This was fully intended. Believe me, they can try and act like this wasn't it. But if you look at Slotkin, you look at Kelly, you look at Crow, you look at all of these guys and gals that are in this video, and every single one of them, I can tell you, is a Trump hater. Every single one, and every single one has derision toward the president. So their full intent, regardless of whether they say it or not, their full intent was to sow disloyalty and insubordination and division in the ranks. That was their whole purpose of the video. They would have no other reason to comment on this if it weren't to try and get people to do the thing that they are looking for, which is be disloyal, be insubordinate. There is no other explanation for this. No other logical, no other reasonable, no other explanation as to why these Congress people decided to make this video and state the things that they stated. So, yeah. Yep. So, Mark Kelly is still subject to the UCMJ and is now going to get into trouble for this. Oh, here's the seditious six. Mark Kelly, Alyssa Slotkin, Jason Crow, Representative Jason Crow of Colorado, Chris DeLugio of Pennsylvania, and Chrissy Houlihan of Pennsylvania, and Maggie Goodlander of New Hampshire. Just, take those six. Seriously, take those six. Go and peruse their social media. And I guarantee you will find through their actions that their intent was not to just simply say, hey, you've already been trained on all of this. You know this. Yeah, you just remember. No, that isn't the case. That isn't what they did. That isn't what they did. And they know it. And now they're in trouble because of it. All right. Let's move on from this because this just pisses me off. I'm sorry. This crap just pisses me off. I'm glad that Hegseth is doing something. I really am. I wish he could do it against all of them rather than just Mark Kelly, but that's okay. It would be just lovely to see Mark Kelly go down for this. At least somebody go down for it. Well, speaking of another thing that is a falsehood by the left, they're totally shifting gears here. Totally shifting gears here. But you'll recall back in May that there was a report that came out that was ordered by President Trump under, it was an executive order. Let's see if I can find that executive order. Hold on. I thought I saw it in here. Yeah, it was under Executive Order 14187. And this report came out. It was the executive order was to examine whether or not gender-affirming care was actually something that, with medical, was there any medical evidence? Was there anything in terms of, whether or not this is supporting these hormone therapies and other treatments for minors now that identify as transgender? Well, the published final version came out last Wednesday. And the published final version, after being peer-reviewed by 10 different experts and research groups, none of which found any major faults in the findings that the U.S. doctors presented, basically stating that U.S. doctors should pause giving common gender dysphoria treatments until more is known about the long-term effects on patients. Now, one part of this review process with medical journals and stuff like this is that the experts will be reviewed, or the report is reviewed by experts, and they are given the chance to basically demonstrate mistakes, errors, possible flaws in the research methodology, any of these other things that are running around about this. And there were none found. In fact, the only complaint that came in that was of any significance was the fact that one of the reviewing research groups basically said, well, we wish you would have included a transgender researcher, which has nothing to do with it. But the findings were all in line and correct. They couldn't find any errors. They couldn't find anything else. So this report, so the order itself was claiming that U.S. doctors were maiming teens with gender-affirming treatment that must end. And he ordered the Department of Health and Human Services to compile an assessment of the standards of care of minors who identify as transgender. Now, that report, which again originally came out in May, found that many of the studies that proponents of gender-affirming care use to back their treatments, so the studies that were pro using these medicines, were of, quote, very low quality, and that in reality there is little known long-term psychological and quality of life effects of these treatments. There's also little evidence known of how often patients regret undertaking these treatments. So in other words, taking the hormones, going through the process, the gender surgery, the top surgery, the bottom surgery as a child is what's being questioned here. And this report also noted at the same time that the UK itself banned the use of puberty blockers and other treatments for minors altogether. So it's not like we're coming to a separate idea that maybe this is not something that we should be doing. We're actually in conjunction with doing our own studies. Now, the report itself said that doctors should focus on psychotherapy until more is known about the effects of these gender-affirming care treatments for children. Now, the report was widely denounced by trans activists when it was released in May, but now that it's been peer-reviewed and they could find nothing wrong with it, well, what the hell? Where are you going to go now? Experts have basically said this is the case, folks. And it's not just, Robert F. Kennedy or anybody else. Now, there's a couple things to note, by the way, which I find this fascinating on this, is that the main author noted that the report's 9 authors and their particular research process were completely independent of the Health and Human Services, as well as the fact that the majority of those authors are Democrats. That's right. So Democrat doctors, the majority, have all come together, even though this is a bipartisan report. Democrat doctors are now coming out and saying the reality, which is we just don't have enough information to know whether or not there is a positive effect on this and whether or not these treatments are actually effective. Folks, this is, yeah. The statement, there's a statement out of it saying that we are a very politically and ideologically diverse group. Most of the authors are liberal Democrats. They wouldn't vote for Trump if he forced them to. This is a bipartisan initiative. Yeah. Yep. So, even the APA, the American Psychiatric Association, which was the only review organization that reviewed it or even responded to the request for a review, the APA did not substantively criticize the actual evidence analysis findings. Yeah. So, yeah. So apparently the trans ideology and the transing the kids is not a good thing. And of course, anyone with a brain already freaking knew that. Let's see. All right. A couple of things really quick. I don't know if anybody noticed, just in the last closing minutes here, I don't know if anybody noticed, but X has now got a new feature to it where accounts are being disclosed as to where they are based. And many of them, apparently, many of the accounts that are supposedly America First, MAGA, so on and so forth, came up as not being a part of America. Although that could have a lot to do with like VPNs or anything like that, because that's where that would come from. But I'm going to tell you, my account, 100% American. American perspective, American citizen, and an American who runs it. It's all me. But anyway, that apparently a bunch of leftists jump on this train and we're like, they're all from foreign entities. Well, the House Intel Chief, just really quick in the final closing minute or closing seconds here, the House Intel Chief warns that foreign actors, in conjunction with what you just learned about X, are conspiring with Americans to sow discord inside the U.S. Yeah, like that hasn't really been apparent at all. at all. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford said, quote, I think that there is a whole network of both state and non-state actors that bring that to bear here in the United States, that is to exploit any kind of political divide that must exist or schisms that may exist even within a political party. So they kind of help sow discord. We've seen malign influence from state actors that include Russia, China, Iran. And then there's also non-state actors that can be doing the bidding of a nation state. So, yeah, we're being attacked. The people are all trying to take us down. That's just it. That's just it. People are taking us down, and we know it. No surprise there. Not a single surprise. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com and get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified that every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to, across all of my platforms, to leave me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or, of course, for 3 Chevy, a thumb sideways. Whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, folks, and don't forget to get that turkey. Don't let the turkey go above 40 degrees Fahrenheit to make sure that you, as you're thawing it, to make sure that it's safe for you to eat on Turkey Day. Anyway, have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.